All right, Shalom. All praise going on. It goes to Yahweh, Bashmi Awashai, Basham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone and rule well. And peace and blessings to the elect of another edition of GMS News and Prophecy. And I have a couple of articles here. The first one I have is from the Wall Street Journal. And the prophecy we're dealing with is Second Esdras, Second Esdras, let's go to it. Second Esdras, the 15th chapter. All right. Now the headline reads: Armenian leader resigns in wake of protests. Many people had grown tired of a leader they saw as increasingly authoritarian. Now, this headline lines up right along with Second Esdras, the 15th chapter. All right, and I'm gonna read it. This is Second Esdras 15 and 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." So what we have is a prophecy of different people or groups of people fighting against one another, but actually killing one another. Now, we've seen over the past couple years an increase in riots and protests around the world, whether it be in Greece, whether it be in Egypt, whether it be the Middle East, Africa, whether it be in South Africa with these killings of black South Africans against these so-called white South Africans, and even here in America. All right, we've seen an increase of people standing up and fighting against each other. Okay, and verse 16 says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another." Now, sedition means resurrection. Okay, it's like not resurrection, but insurrection. Excuse me, insurrection. All right, or like a coup, things like that. And we've seen coups, and what I just read here in the article, this is basically a coup to have the leader of Armenia resign because of the people didn't basically and they didn't want him around. They didn't want him in office. Okay. Now I'm gonna read some of the article here. All right. It says Armenia's unpopular prime minister stepped down Monday after more than a week of growing demonstrations capitulating to protesters in a country firmly allied with former Soviet master Moscow. Now I believe that there were actually deaths in these protests from last week. Okay, but that's because the people were in sedition. They were in riot against the government. Okay, it says the resignation of Sergei Sargsyan marks a rare victory for civil protests in a former Soviet Union state and could reduce the possibility of further instability in a tension-plagued area near Russia's southern border. In the wake of the announcement, people in Yerevan, the capital, waved flags and cheered. So here's a pure and prime example of the people standing up against the kings and the princes of their government, okay, of their country. It says many Armenians had grown tired of a leader they see as arrogant and increasingly authoritarian. Tens of thousands of protesters, including students and members of the military, have taken to the streets since Mr. Sargsyan's party appointed him to become prime minister last week after a decade as president. So they were tired of this guy. Okay? They were tired of this guy. And unlike you people here in America, who also have the right to actually peacefully protest, but instead you so-called blasphemous Spanish, you march up and down the street. Okay? But it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It just amounts to more and more bills and laws being passed that further takes away your rights. But on the other hand, you got the people over here, overseas, in Eastern and Western Europe. These people are willing to, stand up and fight. But that's the spirit that the Lord, it scripture says in Isaiah 19 chapter, that he has mingled a perverse spirit in Babylon, or in Egypt, excuse me. Egypt and Babylon goes hand in hand with America. So you blasphemous Spanish over here and Native Americans, y'all are asleep. Okay? But nonetheless, there's protests and there's riots taking place all over the world. Now I'm going to go back and finish the scripture off, right? 2 Corinthians 15 and 16. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Okay, so those people over there in Armenia, they weren't regarding the laws and this new prime minister being set up. They didn't care about that. They knew that they wanted him out of power, and they was willing to do what they had to do to show that they didn't care for this guy. So it says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right? And the course of the actions, meaning, whatever they decide to do, it took place, and it says it shall stand in their power. And sure enough, because of the power of the people, they got this guy out of office. All right. So this is the first article. I'm gonna leave a link, of course, but I have another one here, which is from the Miami Herald. Okay, and it's once again the same thing. This is the Miami Herald. It says, "Don't go to Nicaragua. Officials warn after evacuating U.S. embassy amid deadly riots." All right. April 23rd, 2018, updated April 24th, 2018. So this was yesterday. And if you've been paying attention to the news out of Nicaragua, you know that there has been violent and deadly protests down there, because I believe it was a social security law that was passed down there, and then the people, and they just started rioting because they couldn't pay more. So now there's riots, there's protests, and there's deaths all throughout Nicaragua. Okay. I'm going to read it. It says the U.S. government stripped its embassy in Nicaragua down to bare-bone operations Monday after 5 days of deadly protests around the country. Despite Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega's efforts to calm his tempestuous nation, the State Department on Monday ordered non-essential employees and all embassy family members to leave Nicaragua. In a public statement, the Department of State also warned travelers to reconsider travel to Nicaragua due to crime and civil unrest. Right? And these things, these different protests and these unrests and civil riots and things like that, it's all going to trickle down to America. Now, there's news today. I saw a little bit earlier how people are, certain people, I believe in the government, are starting to back up Trump on his travel ban. Okay, on this Muslim travel ban. So there's going to be more and more things happening on the earth to where, and especially here in America, to where you can't travel to America, especially after this next event that the elites of Esau want to set up. Okay, so now the embassy of the U.S. in Nicaragua is shut down. Okay, it's shut down. Non-essential employees are being are the only ones being used in the office down there, and At this point, things are getting deadly. So I'm going to keep reading. It says, demonstrations typically elicit a strong response that has in the past included the use of tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, and live ammunition against participants, and occasionally have devolved into looting, vandalism, and acts of arson, officials said. Violent crime and such as sexual assault, right? Rape. So there's rape going on down there. Here it is. They're supposed to be protesting the government, but more than likely all these women down there are getting sexually assaulted, getting raped. Okay, getting raped. It says violent crime, and Great Millstone's not the one doing the raping. Okay, but it is a prophecy and it is a sign of the times. So it says violent crime such as sexual assault and armed robbery is common. Police presence and emergency response are extremely limited outside of major urban areas. Okay, so this is the situation in Nicaragua down there amongst the tribe of Zebulon, which are the Nicaraguans, the Panamanians, the Costa Ricans, all right, the so-called Central Americans, all right, those natives down there, those are of the tribe of Zebulon. Okay, now, hey, rape is in the scriptures. Okay, and like I said, when these riots and these protests take place, there's prophecy coming to pass, and so with the sexual assaults and the other crimes. And when you go to Isaiah, the 13th chapter, it mentions about that in happening in America soon. Okay, and this is what's to come to America, because all these protests are going to trickle into America, because the problems of the world, it's all a domino effect, whether it be another terrorist attack or whether it be the economy crashing, but things are going to heat up over here too. All right, so this is Isaiah 13 and 15. It says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Or just ultimately going to be the nuclear destruction. All right, the ICBM missile shot over here in the war Armageddon that takes place in the Middle East. All these enemies of America, these countries are going to shoot nuclear missiles over here and destroy all the people that believe in this society, while the elect of Israel that believes in Yahweh Bashmi Shai are going to be delivered. All right, but the rest of you people, y'all are going to fall by the sword, and you're going to fall by the sword before that. And these protests and these riots, man, these race wars. Okay, all right, and our point is in 16. It says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Okay, killing the children, killing the women. It says their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. Ravished means to be raped or taken. Okay. And it's not going to be taken, to just be sold and things like that. It's going to be taken for sexual pleasures, man. Okay. So that's the sexual assault that's taking place down here. And it's coming up here to America. Okay. So back in 2 Esdras 15, which I'm going to finish. 2 Esdras 15, right? In 15 it says, for the sword and their destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And we're seeing that being played out now, man, in the news. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Is it now not what they said here? All right. Don't go to Nicaragua. Officials warned after evacuating U.S. embassy amid deadly riots. So these things are taking place now, man. Okay. We are living in the time of 2 Esdras 15th chapter coming to pass. All right. And it's slowly creeping its way up to Babylon the Great. This new spiritual Egypt. This spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, America. It's creeping up here. And then, hey, it's going to be the time for Jacob's trouble. All right? And we're already slowly in the beginning stages. Okay? 2 15 and 18, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. And there's your famine. Okay, because a lot of these grocery stores up here in America, these major chains, they're closing stores, man. Okay. It says, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that great tribulation is to come upon the whole earth, but mainly over here in America, man. And Yahweh Shai said this, man. Okay, Yahweh Shai said that these things were going to take place before he returned in the earth. Okay. So this is, let's see, Luke 21. All right, well, I read this. Luke 21 and 20 says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Now, this happened in 70 AD with the physical Jerusalem, but the people of Jerusalem in these last days are also going to be surrounded once the martial law takes place. Okay, and we're seeing that happening now with Nicaragua, and the people being destroyed down there, man. But up here in America, man, you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans that live up here, y'all are going to get a rude awakening. Okay? It says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So people are going to go from these cities into the, the forests and the mountains about. But these are the prophecies, man. The days of the Lord's vengeance. And I'm going to jump down to verse 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth the distress of nations with perplexity. Meaning great confusion. The sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts filling them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud, meaning the chariot. That's why you have all these different UFO sightings, all right, all over the world. Now, these are actually the chariots of the Most High, and Yahweh Shai himself, who the word enemy called Jesus Christ, he's going to come back and save and beam up the elect of Israel, man. Okay, and then totally destroy this world. It says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory, because Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, is going to restart the earth. He's going to start the world over again. But first, these riots and these protests have to take place, okay, in Nicaragua as well as here in Armenia. All right, but these are the signs of the times. So, and like Yahweh Shai said, I'm going to read it. Verse 28, Luke 21 and 28. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up, right? Start praying to the Lord. You're going to see a lot more spiritual things in the heavens. A lot more spiritual events are going to happen in the earth. Chariots are going to be in the sky, showing themselves, doing formations, lighting up. And these Edomites and their government, they're not going to have no explanations, man. It says, and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. And what's the redemption? The redemption of the nation of Israel, starting with the elect being redeemed back to him. We're in that time now. Okay, we're in that time. We're in the time of Yahweh Bashan Shai doing his work in the earth. All right. And I'm going to keep reading some of these verses in this chapter because, hey, man, prophecy is coming. This is Luke 21 and 29. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. And now we've seen the green things buttoning back up. We know it's spring. So we know the times. So it says, so likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of the Most High is nigh at hand. So, to the elect or the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it's high time to wake up and do the work, man. Okay? Do what you got to do and believe in Yahweh Basham Rashad, because our kingdom is here. The government in America and its governments around the world, they're crumbling. Wars brewing up. These people out here protesting and killing each other. And we're in a time, man. But with that, I'm going to give all praise to Yahweh, Basham Rashad, Basham Rakak Wadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Until the next time, Shalom.